Good morning and welcome to Talks on Tuesday, where we meet every Tuesday at 11 o'clock Pacific time to discuss a variety of metaphysical topics. And today we're going to be discussing a very simple quote from Solomon Speaks. And everyone who's here right now has a background in reconnective healing, but for our YouTube audience, I thought I would explain a little bit about reconnective healing and how Solomon fits in there. Reconnective healing came to Dr. Eric Pearl about 25 years ago, and it is a non-touch form of healing. You can do it at a distance, you can do it in person. It's extremely simple. The hardest part about reconnective healing is you don't know what's going to happen. And the reconnective healing frequencies bring the appropriate healing to whoever the subject of the healing is. You can't say, I want to heal my foot, I want to heal my back, I want my marriage to go right. It will do whatever it wants to. And it's usually something really wonderful, even better than what you had in mind. When Eric was first discovering reconnective healing, one of his patients began to channel. And he channeled a spirit, an entity group who was known as Solomon. And Solomon delivered a lot of information, which is the basis for the book Solomon Speaks on Reconnecting Your Life. And the quote I've chosen for today is, wherever you are, there's a healing that can take place. And I think that speaks to not only the power and versatility of reconnective healing, but also to the fact that it is more than just a tool on your tool belt. It is a way of life. It's a way we go about our life, being aware of the kinds of healings we need to do and are brought to us. And I'll just share one story that happened to me over the weekend. I went out for breakfast, and the restaurant was quite busy. And the waitress said, do you mind if I seat you over here? And it was kind of off to the side, but it was near a very large party. And so I said, fine. And I sat down, and next to me on the floor was this beautiful dog, a golden retriever, and its leg was in a cast. And I thought, oh, the poor dog. And I could see that his owner was very concerned about him and kept reaching down and trying to tempt him to eat one of her pieces of potato. And the dog just looked away. And so I don't like to make a big fuss of this. In reconnective healing, we work with our hands most often, although we don't have to. But just under the table, I engaged with the frequencies for about a minute and a half. And that's often just about what it takes. And I kind of held the dog in mind while I did this. And then my meal arrived and I started eating. And before too long, the woman next to me said, my dog is very interested in you. And I looked down and the dog was looking up at me. And I said, can I feed him a piece of potato? I said, if he will eat anything, I will be so happy. That dog ate all my potatoes. He was so happy. He was just eating and smiling. The dog's name was Oliver. So I thought that was a really good example of how this works. You see things and you know there's a healing that can take place. So that's my little story, and I'm just going to throw it out to the rest of you. Please raise your hand if you have something to say so that we don't talk over each other. Yeah, Renee.
Very great story. I love when animals, show us how to express love because they are pure love. But that wasn't what I was going to share. I was going to share a different story about an unplanned meeting that took place in front of a store. I was waiting to get into the store, and it wasn't going to open for another 10 minutes. And another woman walked up to the door and she started to shake it. And I said, no, it isn't open yet. And I looked at her face, and somehow her face looked very familiar to me. I didn't know why. I didn't really get an instant connection, but I didn't, I wasn't staring at her or anything, but I looked at her and I said, did you ever work in such and such a place? And she said, no. I said, wait, I know you. I said, you were demonstrating ikebana, which is Japanese flower design, at the Royal Ontario Museum with my former instructor in 1990. I said, is your name Joyce? And she said, yeah. So that was just the beginning, because after that moment, this conversation, which lasted about an hour in the basement of a fabric store, which I never go to, but I had to go there for a particular reason, to get some trim for something I'm working on. And we were both going to the same place. So, after the hour was up and we kind of figured out, I guess we better go do what it was intended that we were here for. So we thought, but we had this reunion that went back through both of our lives and caught us up as if we were like great old friends that didn't even know each other. So you try and figure that one out. It was synchronicity totally under, in play. And I just felt, wow, here we all are sort of going our ways and going here and there, seemingly all separate and going in different directions. But here, Spirit brings two people that aren't really like good friends together because they needed to be together and to share and to be with one another. We're both artists and we needed each other at that time. And then we sort of parted and that was it. But it's not something that happens that frequently, but because it happened, and had I come 5 minutes earlier or later, I would not have met her. And just, we're not alone. We're not alone. The dog was not alone. The dog connected with you because you had love in your heart for this being, this animal. And they know it. They feel it. They sense that, in a way that people don't. Dogs are incredibly intuitive, and this one obviously was tuned into your love for him, or your concern for him, and he loved them.
Oh. Oh, Renee, that's a beautiful story. That spontaneous meeting you had with that other woman, and the fact that you remembered her is like incredible. That's fun.
And her name.
Yeah, very impressive. Yeah.
And clearly, it doesn't even have to be reconnective healing. Sometimes just smiling at somebody can bring a healing. It can give them a lift.
Yes.
That
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think you have to, part of it is just being receptive, open, aware, even aware, not even aware, but not aware that you're aware maybe, and just in your receiving, because things like that happen to me when I'm out, and you just have to say one little thing to somebody, or smile, like you said, and then I don't know, it's like most of the time it's like contagious.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good feeling too. I walk away many times, after I've had some kind of even a short little contact with somebody, and it's just nice. Yeah.
Yeah, Barb.
Yeah, I stopped by a friend's house this morning to pick up some tomato plants that she was giving me. And we were kind of talking about this similar stuff, just the spontaneous ways that the universe support us. And I was reflecting on how nice it is, how grateful I am for realizing that the universe does these little things around us. And it's, to me, evidence that it is the universe supporting us, and the fact that we are all connected. And through my reconnective healing work, and I've done a lot of energy work in the past, but with reconnective healing, it's almost like, to me, the epitome of, the cream of the crop, because it helps me to get in that place of knowing the connectedness of all of us and the oneness that we all are, more easily and more frequently. And just that knowing that the universe is here to support us and to offer these little gifts, that's kind of what I think it means. There's a healing that can take place, because even if something happens that we don't particularly care for, it's always an opportunity to, look at it a little differently, grow from it, and then just kind of take a step to open for the love that comes our way. So
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Barb, do you remember when we were on that plane, and you started talking to that guy? We were on a flight that had been delayed, and it was a nightmare, and we were wondering why this was happening to us. Why don't you go with that?
oh well. I don't think we were, I think it was, well, anyway, bottom line is we were going to Florence, and we bought a ticket out of Paris, but for some crazy reason, we didn't buy a seat. We bought a reservation, but not a seat. So we couldn't get on the flight that we had planned to. So they made us wait for a few more hours and got us on another flight that went through Barcelona and then to Florence. And when we were getting on in Barcelona, there was a young man sitting next to me. I was in the middle. Mary was by the window, and this young guy was next to me. And I could tell he was just very nervous. I mean, his fingers were kind of like going like this constantly, and he seemed, his energy was just like, huh. And eventually it was just like, this guy needs something. I mean, I felt him as if he was kind of me, and I just felt that he was so uncomfortable and squirmy and just, unhappy. And so I started talking with him, and I don't remember all the details of the conversation, but long story short, he had gone to Barcelona for some sort of surgical procedure, and it seemed like it was worse, and he was very unhappy. In fact, I think it was something about his eye. Maybe his eye was covered or something, and it got worse, didn't get better, and he was, of course, freaking out and flying home. And so I talked with him a little bit about reconnective healing and asked him if he would mind if I did a little, session on him. And he was like, whatever, I don't care. And so I played with the frequencies a little bit, and he started calming down. And it was funny because his brother was with him, sitting across the aisle in the seat, on the other side of the plane. And he kept like looking over, like, well, what are you guys talking about? What are you doing? And it was just, and I knew it was his brother because they looked very much alike. And he was peeking over, and the guy finally, started relaxing and feeling better and got quiet. And so afterwards we were talking, and I just said, oh, so, what did you notice? He's like, oh, nothing. It's like, okay. And, we chatted a little bit more, and he denied noticing anything, which didn't matter because he was so much calmer and he was very friendly. And he told me, he lived in Florence, and I forget what his job was, but he came to the US occasionally. And but it just made a difference to him, and whether he was willing to acknowledge it or not, it didn't matter. I mean, it made me feel better just physically because we were connected, and so it was just fun.
Yeah. And this notion that, I mean, we will never know what the effect of our healing has been. Occasionally we find out, but we don't always know, especially when we're working with strangers who we will never see again. Yeah, it's pretty magical.
Yeah.
Yeah, Barb.
Well, since nobody else is going to jump in, I will with, it's funny because I noticed over the years that after I started doing reconnective healing, and again, I've done a lot of different types of energy work in the past, but with reconnective healing, I was much more able to heal relationships, my family of origin, friends, like ex-husbands, just heal those types of relationships that I never really even would consider. It just happened, and again, to me, that's just like there's healings that can take place, whether it's like whether you want to or not, it just happens around you because of that awareness that you were talking about, Julie. You just are more open. And I was taking a living in the frequencies class, and one of the assignments was ask somebody who knew you before you got involved with reconnective healing versus after, what they saw as differences, in you. And I talked with my son, and he's like, oh, you're much more laid back, much less controlling. You allow things to unfold more. You're not so worried about the outcomes, and just willing to be. And just like, I hadn't really even thought about it until that point, but it was so true. So to me, that was like self-healing, that was, and to me, that's the most important thing, healing my own life, which is just such a nice gift. So.
Right. And especially healings that we don't even know we need. Like when I first went, Barbara did my first sessions. I had a number of issues that I was hoping would be healed, and instead other things happened. For one thing, you've seen Barbara's cats before. They usually come online when walk in front of her while we're talking. And when Barb started to do the session, her cat started meowing outside the door. And I finally said, well, just let the cat in. Even though I was wildly allergic to cats. But I didn't say anything to Barb because, I thought, what's the worst thing that can happen? Well, a cat jumped up on the bed with me and was kind of walking around and curled up by my head. And ordinarily, I would have had hives and sneezing and cough and runny eyes, but I didn't. And I've never had that happen to me again. I'm not allergic to cats anymore. And the frequencies must have thought for Mary to get through this session, she needs to get rid of this allergy to cats. And now I can even pick up a cat and pet it if it will let me. But it was just like so random. Like I was going in for one thing, but something else happened.
And I just have to add to that, the bizarre thing is my cat never came downstairs for my sessions before. I mean, this was like the very first time, and I'm like, oh my God, that's so unprofessional. What am I going to do? And Mary's like, oh, just let him in. I'm like, oh God. So it was totally meant to be.
Yeah. 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 And letting go of our intention. It's not easy, but once you learn to do it, your whole life becomes much better. To live in possibility instead of goal setting all the time or knowing what I want to do or what I want to have happen. It becomes a lesson in so many ways.
Cut this,
Yeah.
sort of to cut the stress out, like when you overthink things and you worry, and being able to know that you have somewhere you can go, or sometimes I'll just play in the frequencies a little bit and just almost feel like things melt away, or dissolve or whatever. And I know in this chapter, Solomon talks about simplicity.
Mhm.
I think living more simply. I mean, that's not it. It's help me out. Do you remember? Just oh,
Do you
what?
remember?
Well, I know what he said. He said, what you need to do is simplify. That's what is simplify. And, and Anka, what are we calling you these days?
Hello. Yes, to do reconnective healing is something I think simple, but it's very hard to keep the simplicity of the process, I think. And I agree that in many times we can do uh, healing, but it's important to be present in that moment and to act good. I don't know. That's all. In love, to act with love and being compassionate. I
Mhm.
don't know.
Yeah, it isn't always easy, but it gets easier. It helps us to adjust the way we live in the world without so much worry about what if, what if, and to just be accepting. What comes to me is probably a gift, whether I recognize it or not.
And then it's really nice if you can recognize it, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you haven't been at this very long, have you? How long have you been studying reconnective healing?
Um, Today I read half a book of the third book that's named the path, the direct path
Healing.
to healing.
Mhm.
The energy, light, and information.
Mhm.
The tree of signed tree
Mhm.
of these three energy. Yes, I have like this.
Yes. Yeah.
I read the half and I put some marks on it. I don't know what to say. Just
It's okay.
some.
You just
Okay.
take it in. It's like a cup of tea. You put the bag in your teacup and you let it sit. And before you know it, you have something else. A change has taken place.
I when I go with the bus, when I go outside, I meet people that want to speak with me. And I think that this is a little healing because I make them feel good and knowing that I am with them and it's something without knowing them, they put our life, them lives and our lives put together in that moment and um, about the title of this discussion, I think I can do here everywhere because in the bus you are everywhere. Uh, you can be in middle center or you can be in military where I live or at any distance you can do the healing because it's a mysterious process in my mind and you don't know how people will react or you I'm a little sometimes when I'm not in my uh when I'm in fear and not in love when I'm in ego sometimes am afraid of being who I am and saying that all I think or all I feel, and I generalize things more than saying, "Hey, it's about me and you," and that's it.
Yeah. It's a path that's full of surprises and challenges, but the more we step away from expectation and fear, the smoother that path gets. Yeah, Barb.
Oh, I was just waving goodbye to Julie. She's got jury duty.
Oh,
So
Julie
she's-
has to go. Jury duty.
Yeah.
Yeah, you may have an opportunity for healing.
Right. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye,
Bye,
Jules. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, Anka, I think it's great that you recognize what's happening with you. You know, you mentioned earlier about being in awareness and being present. And I think that that's such an important key. And you understand
Yes.
when I'm in fear or when I'm in ego, because knowing that is really a good step towards being able to say, okay, now what do I do? You know, just step back and let it go and allow. And yeah, it's beautiful just to listen to you and your awareness and you know, the understanding that it doesn't have to limit you. You know, you don't have to.
I want to say that I am glad that you listen to me and understand me, because here and in the most of the world, around the world, they don't know that healing can be like this simple, and can go in many directions, even if you are close or at far away. I want to say that I want to give to you all my good intentions, all my love, all my appreciation, and I am very glad to meet you here and to discuss with you such a relevant things of spirituality, and not just that.
Thank you. And I think we are out of time, but it's been lovely to see you all. Love everybody, and you have a wonderful day.
Wonderful day.
Ditto.
Bye.
See you next
Bye.
week. Bye bye. Thanks, everybody.